Yo, what's up, guys? Nico here. Hey, today I wanted to kind of talk about two reasons why I turned to substances, and then let you guys know a little bit something more about it that scares the shit out of me. They say that two of the biggest reasons for people to turn to substances, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is either because of coping, they're trying to deal with something that they don't know how to deal with, or trauma. They had something very traumatic happen to them and they don't know how to process those thoughts. I could let you guys know, at least for me, I turned to substances for both of those reasons. I had traumatic events happen in the 6th grade and I didn't know how to deal with them. So when I had repressed the memories at that age and then they came back when I was probably in 9th, 10th grade, I didn't know how to process them. I didn't know how to deal with them. I didn't know how to cope with them. So I turned to substances. First substance, of course, was cannabis. Made me feel good, but propels from there. Because if you're not learning how to deal with the trauma or learning proper and healthy coping techniques, you're still trying to fill a void that is just going to grow and grow and grow. So those are two of them, the top reasons that all these studies say that people turn to substances and alcohol. Yes, I'll definitely acknowledge those, but I'll let you know that one of the biggest reasons for me to staying on a habit of just using substances as coping techniques or as masking techniques was because I was afraid of healing. It took me a long time to figure this one out, but I had carried that pain and that anger with me for so long, I didn't know how to live without it. Couple of things that are wrong with that thought process. One is that by carrying the anger and the pain with me and not actually addressing them, I continued to use a substance that was hurting me, killing me, ruining my life. But to the individual that had caused the trauma, they weren't being impacted by it at all. They had zero repercussions for what they did first, and then for what I was doing to myself. They weren't being impacted by it. So at the end of the day, it was just me who was still hurting, still in pain, but also adding on to my hurt and pain. The second one, coping. I didn't have proper coping techniques for certain situations. Because I'm kind of an intense person. I feel things very strongly, and I go 0 to 60 very quickly. It's just the way that I am. It's part of my characteristics. But because I didn't know how to cope with certain things, I would take it 0 to 60. Someone would piss me off, 0 to 60, I'm gonna go get fucked up. Someone would say something that I didn't like, or I couldn't catch them while they were saying it and give them a piece of my mind or these hands. Then I'd go ahead and have to cope with it. And coping with it for me meant, let's get fucked up and forget about it. Unfortunately, that's not what happens. I get fucked up, but I wouldn't forget about it, and I dwell on it. So those are two of the biggest reasons why I stayed in a cycle of addiction for so long. But when I had hit rock bottom, when my relationships had ended with my family, and they said, hey, we can't have you around anymore, when I had driven everybody out of my life because I was so angry all the time and I was so jacked up all the time on drugs and alcohol that nobody knew when they were actually dealing with Nico, if they were just dealing with one of the versions of Nico that was always trashed. That's when I realized that one of the things that scared me the most was actually healing. I didn't want to heal. I didn't know how life would be in healing those portions, those areas of my life that drove me into these cycles for so long. Scared the piss out of me. Literally, I was afraid to heal myself. So because I was afraid to accept healing for these things and work on healing myself, I continued these cycles. At the end of the day, those cycles drove me into living in my truck, and those cycles drove me into robbing people. Those cycles drove me into a very bad lifestyle. But it wasn't so much that I was dealing with trauma and coping anymore. It was that I was afraid to heal. I was afraid to take that step forward, that step of progress forward, and start working on healing myself. Because when I started healing myself, I had never known what that was like, so the unknown made me afraid. Guys, when I started to heal myself and I started to actually address these issues, a big old weight was lifted off my shoulders. And I didn't walk around angry anymore. I didn't walk around as upset. I didn't walk around thinking everybody was trying to get one over on me anymore. I started to accept that life is life. Shitty things do happen. It's not always intentional, but shitty things do happen to people. Oh, learning how to accept that and learning how to accept the healing that comes with that, that's when I started to see some real progress in my recovery. So I want to ask you today, we can all come up with excuses. We're manipulators as addicts. But be real honest with yourself and ask yourself, are you afraid to heal from some of the shit that you've held on to, that you use as an excuse to use drugs and alcohol? If your answer is no, maybe double think this one, because I know for a lot of people, in my experiences and interactions with different demographics and different addicts, everybody has something that they're kind of holding on to that gives them the justification in their head to go out and use, to go out and do whatever vice they have. We all have this somewhat scenario that's played out in our heads that gives us that justification that, yeah, I got no problem in going out to the bar and getting fucked up tonight because I had a tough week at work. Yours may not be as extreme as mine were, or as far back as mine were, or you might not have carried yours as long as I've carried mine. But if you're justifying using substances because of a certain event, certain scenario, certain situation, certain relationship, something that you feel like you missed out on, it might be that you're afraid of healing. Let me be the first one to tell you, yes, it is scary. But the benefits of actually healing, they're wonderful. Those benefits is what gave me the opportunity to walk around and say, I got no halo, and that's okay.